Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. And of course, I'm your host, John June. And of course, on this lovely Thursday, got my guy, Greg Penniman, with me. Greg, what's good, man?
What is going on? I'm excited for week 9. I'm excited for the start of week 9. You know, Tom Brady Jr. is about to play for the New York Jets. I'm hoping that NFL could bounce back a little bit. You know, I have more storylines off the field than off the field, I feel like. So yeah, I'm trying to get some good football games this week.
Yeah, definitely. We are trying to. Obviously, I referenced it yesterday. There was a lot of stuff that happened. I'm not going to get into all of it, but definitely want to focus, on the football this week, because that's what we play this for. It's fun. So
yeah,
let's focus on the fun. Starting off, obviously, we're breaking down these 1 p.m. games. The 3-4 Atlanta Falcons traveling to New Orleans. Sorry, got ahead of myself in the show sheet here. But let's start with the 1-7 Houston Texans traveling to Miami to take on the 1-7 Miami Dolphins. This game has a 46-point total. The Dolphins are 6.5-point favorites here. This game is expected to have some 15-mile-per-hour winds. This is this game and the Buffalo Jacksonville game, the only real games that have real weather concerns. The rest of the games will probably be some light rain, but for the most part, they are okay or in a dome. But this game, like I said, in the Buffalo Jacksonville game, have some wind. This one is 15 mile per hour. Wind sustained. Obviously, that we're here. It's Thursday. We've been through this before, but check the weather as we get closer to Sunday, because this could be, it could get better or it could get worse, right? So keep that in mind. In terms of injuries for Houston, Tyrod Taylor, he's returned from injured reserve. He's been designated as active. He will start on Sunday for the Houston Texans against the Miami Dolphins, sending rookie quarterback Davis Mills to the bench. For the Miami Dolphins, Devontae Parker, he was a limited participant in practice with a shoulder and a hamstring injury. And then Tua Tagovailoa, he was limited with a rib and a finger injury on his left hand. So, Greg, Tua is questionable, but where does that take you in terms of the game here, and what are you thinking fantasy-wise?
Yeah, I'm glad we're definitely doing this game first. I'm glad you corrected that. You know, we can get the one of the worst games first out. I'm taking Miami to cover. I mean, Houston to cover. I'm going to take Miami to win. I'm going to take the over in the game. I do like Tyrod being back for Brandon Cooks, the only person that really matters. I think that upside wide receiver 3, that upside really hits more with Tyrod, and he's going to get that heavy target share, continue to get that, and we'll see if Tyrod can produce any other fantasy relevant player on this team. But that's it for Houston. On Miami side, I do love Tua and all the Dolphins pieces if Tua can go. It was a late add to that injury report, so we never like that. But I'm going to go on and, as long as, keep monitoring his situation. But if he's going to play, he has a great matchup here. Gaskin, I think, has low in RB2 value. Gesicki is a tight end 1 for me. Devontae Parker being back is great. I think he's a solid wide receiver 2. On the year, he's got a 23% target share, so that's pretty good. And Waddle, it's PPR wide receiver 3 for me. I wouldn't be too discouraged with last week. He did have the targets there. So, yeah, he's going to be relevant in those PPR leagues.
Yeah, so I totally I'm with you on everything with the game. I'm going to take the over here. I'm going to take Houston to cover. I'm going to take Houston to win the game. On the Miami side, Miami to win the game. Miami to win the game. On the Miami side, Tua in a great spot here. I think against this Houston defense, rather. I think he can put up a QB1 performance. Jalen Waddle, I think he's an every week wide receiver 2, just based on the volume that he could get on a week-to-week basis. Mike Gesicki, tight end 1. He's obviously every tight ends have their down weeks. He had had one last week. I expect him to bounce back.
Mhm.
And Gaskin, I think he's on the lower end. RB3 has upside for more, obviously, but I think an RB3 is about where he's settled in at. I mean, Salvin Ahmed has siphoned some touches here as well, so just limiting the upside that we saw from Gaskin last year. On the Houston side, definitely would like Tyrod has. I mean, you could have talked me into Davis Mills. Like I was going back and forth as especially in some two quarterback leagues, like
Mhm.
potentially looking at Davis Mills with some teams on bye, because the matchup here against Miami is good. Now you throw Tyrod into the mix, and you combine obviously the fact that Tyrod's just a better quarterback than Davis
Mhm.
Mills, and the fact that Tyrod also has his legs to him. So uh, I think Tyrod's in play here as probably one of the top streaming options. I threw Taysom Hill out there yesterday. I think Taysom
Yeah.
Hill probably has better long-term value rest of season, but for this particular matchup, I really like Tyrod a lot. Brandon Cooks, I like him as well. And then Nico Collins, the rookie has come on. He's got a 13% target share over these last 3 weeks. He came back from an injury, and he looked good in his last game last week against the Rams. And so I think again with Tyrod coming back, I think they for especially not starting him in a season long league or anything like that, but definitely somebody to keep an eye on. And from a DFS perspective, you might want to have your eye on as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely like to talk about someone else other than Brandon Cooks every week. So let's go, Tyrod.
Well, we spoke about Tyrod,
That's true.
so
That's true. Yes, sir.
all right, moving on to this next game. I feel like this game has like an aura to it, but it really like in all actuality when I look at it, like not really. But the 4-4 Denver Broncos traveling to Dallas to take on the 6-1 Dallas Cowboys. This game has a 49.5 point total. The Dallas Cowboys are 9.5 point favorites. Quite a few injuries to discuss here. CeeDee Lamb, star wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. He's been a DNP these last 2 days with an ankle injury after spraining an ankle in practice on Wednesday. He's questionable for the game. You'd have to imagine that, if it is just a low ankle sprain, that they're just giving him some rest ahead of Sunday. But definitely something to monitor if you have CeeDee Lamb on your roster. Um, Tyron Smith, the left tackle for the Dallas Cowboys, he's listed as doubtful for this upcoming game with an ankle injury. He's already said as unlikely to play this week, so expect Dallas to be without their left tackle there. Amari Cooper, obviously the other wide receiver there in Dallas, he's dealing with a hamstring injury, but so he's questionable. Blake Jarwin was a DNP with a hip injury. Michael Gallup is on IR, designated to return, but it sounds like Mike McCarthy, the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, says that he seems like he's probably a week away. So one more week there for Michael Gallup potentially. And on the Denver side, the headline Noah Fant, he's tested positive for COVID, is on the COVID IR. I referenced it yesterday when talking about Albert O as my tight end stream of the week, but Noah Fant seems like has a chance to play. So this is something that we have to monitor as well, especially if we're looking to stream Al O this week. So, and especially if you have Noah Fant on your roster, something to monitor. And then Netane Muti, the guard for the Denver Broncos, is out with COVID here. I'm going to take the under here. I'm going to take Dallas to cover. Going to take Dallas to win. I said this game has this aura to it because, just thinking about like those classic like Cowboys Broncos games, like in the late or mid to late 90s. Like I think that's probably what I'm talking about. But this game, in all actuality, like I said, I'm picking the Cowboys to cover here, taking the under here. Don't see much happening here for the Denver side. So on the Denver side, I think it's low upside for the Denver offense this week, from Teddy to Judy to Sutton. The running backs, I think they're all twos at their position. Maybe one of those receivers hits like Sutton or Judy, depending on who can catch that touchdown there. But like I said, if Noah Fant can't play, I like either Noah Fant or or out O as tight end one options. On the Dallas side, Zeke's in a phenomenal spot here in this backfield, and along with his backfield mate Tony Pollard, I think he's a high end RB2 because this matchup is that good. Dak Prescott back as a quarterback one option. CD Lamb and Amari Cooper both dealing with injuries, but both have wide receiver one upside every week and are CD Lamb's a wide receiver one. Amari Cooper, he fluctuates between that 1 and 2 every week. And then Dalton Schultz, I think he should pick up where he left off when he was last playing with Dak Prescott in New England. So, Greg, what do you say about this game, man?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Broncos to cover, Cowboys to win the game. I'm taking the under. On the Broncos side, yeah, Teddy's gonna give you what he gives you every week, like low end QB2 option. Melvin Gordon, Javonte, the story is the same on them. I have them as RB3 is one of them, RB2 if they're able to get that touchdown upside. The top three pass catchers, they're kind of treated equally. Teddy Bridgewater likes to spread the ball as far as targets and stuff, so that doesn't really help Sutton to become an alpha. I think he has some low end wide receiver two, him and Judy. Judy has the easier matchup as well. Sutton probably will see a lot of Trey Diggs, so that's not good for him. No Fant though, so I like your point about Alberto. He's definitely in that tight end streaming conversation. On the Cowboys side, definitely agree. Love all of the offense for Dak, and it's matchup proof anyway. And Denver doesn't have Von Miller, so it's just going to be just eating for this Cowboys offense. Love everyone involved. If Lamb can't go, a guy obviously gives Cooper a bump, but if they both go, they're both wide receiver ones. And yeah, the key. Looking forward to next week, seeing how Gallup plays next week. But yeah, if he can't go this week, we're still the same situation with Schultz. Tight end one.
Yeah, definitely. And if Lamb can't go, I like Seth Wilson definitely to fill in here. He's already filled in here for Michael Gallup, and I think that he'll earn even more targets if Lamb can't go. Moving on to this next game here, the 3-4 Minnesota Vikings travel to Baltimore to take on the 5-2 Baltimore Ravens. 49.5 point total. In terms of injuries, the real one for Baltimore to look out for. I mean, they've had a ton, obviously, through this point through the year, but Latavius Murray suffered an ankle injury the week before the bye, or 2 weeks before the bye week. So he did not practice with that ankle injury in this potential revenge game here for Latavius Murray. On the Minnesota side, Garrett Bradbury, the center, he's out with COVID. Defensive tackle Michael Pierce, he's questionable with an elbow injury, and Anthony Barr, the linebacker, is also questionable with an elbow injury. Greg, what do you have in terms of this matchup here?
I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take Minnesota to cover, but I'm gonna take Baltimore to win. On Minnesota side, I think Kirk Cousins in this offense does bounce back. Have Kirk Cousins is like high in our QB2. Dalvin Cook is in an excellent spot here. I think he's in for this whole offense again in this bounce back. Baltimore's given up 8 rushing touchdowns to running backs per this year. They only played 7 games, so that's a little over a touchdown per game. Jefferson, love him as wide receiver 1. Thielen, high in wide receiver 2, and my guy Tyler Conklin would have definitely been tight end stream of the week for me. I think he's a definitely top 5 matchup, so he's definitely a tight end 1 for me in this matchup. And on Baltimore side, Lamar Jackson, of course, starting him. He's a top 3 play. Marquise Brown, high-end wide receiver 2. Bateman and Watkins. We're assuming, not sure how Sammy Watkins, if he's going to play. We're keeping monitoring that to Sunday. But I think they're both wide receiver 3s, flex conversation. Intriguing to see how that target split is. And then Mark Andrews, their main pass catcher, top tight end. 2 of the past 3 weeks, he's finished as a top 4 tight end in PPR league, so he's been money.
Yeah, man, I'm going to take the over here. I almost did what you did and took Minnesota to cover, but I'm like Baltimore coming off the bye.
At home. True.
Home. Minnesota's technically had a short week because they played Sunday night. So I'm going to take Baltimore to cover here. I'm going to take Baltimore to win this game. Lamar has a tougher matchup than probably we're used to, but you start that man up anyway. It doesn't matter. Hollywood, he's a wide receiver 1. Has been balling pretty much the whole season. Rashad Bateman, I think he's played well enough and has that draft capital to hold off Sammy Watkins here a little bit.
Okay.
I think he's a low end wide receiver 3. Hey man, rookie's out of the bye week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I like it.
Plus, you got to remember, like, this dude didn't have much of a training camp and didn't play in the preseason, so he like hit the ground running, immediately and has been playing well. I think that's going to be enough to be a low end wide receiver 3 this week. Mark Andrews, he's tight end 1. I don't believe that Latavius Murray's gonna play. It's not good news that he basically hasn't played for like 3 weeks since that injury. Had the whole bye week, still is not able to practice. So if he can't play, I think Freeman is the running back you probably want to start in this backfield. But Le'Veon Bell is always in the mix to get a touchdown. I mean, it's tough, right? But
if you have to do it,
if you have to do it, it'd be Freeman.
Yes, yeah. I'm not trying to touch that though. That's messy.
In terms of the Minnesota side, Jefferson, Thielen, Cooks, Conklin. I'm surprised you're keeping Conklin in stream of the week territory.
Oh yeah. Oh, I guess. I mean, yeah. I got. No, that's true. That's true. I mean, but I didn't have one technically, so I could still make it my start of the week.
I'm just saying, if you don't, I might. Just all right.
Oh man.
And Cousins is definitely in play as a quarterback 1. If we all like his pieces, of course.
True.
Moving on to this next game, man. The 4-4 New England Patriots traveling to Carolina to take on the 4-4 Carolina Panthers. This game has a 41-point total. The New England Patriots are 4-point favorites. In terms of injuries, New England is pretty much okay. On the Carolina side, quarterback Sam Darnold is dealing with a concussion and a shoulder injury. He was a limited participant in practice. Seems like he's trending in the right direction to play. For Carolina, Christian McCaffrey is on. He's been designated to return from IR, has not been activated from the IR yet, but has been designated to return. And apparently, I mean, Matt Rule is keeping it, he's trying to be secretive here and whatnot. But it seems like all we can gather is that CMC hasn't had any setbacks. So that's good news. I'm going to not bank on him playing, but I'm going to, just kind of cross my fingers and hope he does if I have him. But in terms of the game here, Greg, what are you – oh, no, I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take New England to cover. I'm going to take New England to win. It's crazy because these teams are two different, like 4-4 teams, right? Like Carolina started out hot and is trending in the wrong direction, and New England started out like, oh, well, they doesn't look like they're going to be a good team.
Right.
And now they're 4-4 and they're 4-point favorites here on the road with a rookie quarterback in Mac Jones. I'm going to taking them to cover, taking them to win. For the Carolina side, DJ Moore will probably get that Bill Belichick treatment, but I'm obviously going to start him regardless. I like whichever running back suits up for Carolina. And then Robbie Anderson makes sense because if I'm using the logic of, well, DJ Moore is going to get taken away, then Robbie Anderson, but it's not been there. I'm not playing it. I'm not going to do it. Right. I'm just saying the logic. So
True.
If you're playing DFS or something and you want to, do something, then just follow that logic, I guess. But on the New England side, Damian Harris, Jacoby Myers, I think they're both in play. I was talking to somebody today. I was like, yo, you should just bet Jacoby Myers touchdown every week, right?
Like, yeah. I was gonna say this might be the week. I don't know.
This might be the week, right? This might be the week. I mean, I was doing a yards correlation to touchdowns. Yards correlate very heavily to touchdowns, and so you could do a simple conversion and find out. So wide receivers on average score a touchdown every 161 receiving yards. Based on that, Jacoby Myers should have 2.6 touchdowns. So just saying, It doesn't make sense. And he's getting all these. He's got 2-point conversions.
I know 2-point That's crazy to me that he's got 2-point conversions and not a touchdown yet in his NFL career.
So it's got to happen, man. Kendrick Bourne. I think if you're playing in deeper leagues, I think he makes some sense here. And then Mac Jones, he's played well. He's played really well. We saw him unleash the deep ball a little bit last week, so he's feeling more comfortable. He's growing in that offense. And so I think he's, definitely a quarterback 2 option this week, if you're playing in 2 quarterback leagues.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take the Pats to cover. I'm going to take the Pats to win. On the Pats side, it is a tough matchup for Damian Harris, but I still like him. I think I'm having him in that RB2 range, low in RB2. Carolina's only given up 3 rushing touchdowns all year to running backs. Only Zeke and Dalvin Cook got one, and that's because they're special. Mac Jones is going to have to put it in the air, so I do like the fact Mac Jones is a play in 2 quarterback leagues. Putting up more pass attempts is definitely in this game. Jacoby Myers I have as a wide receiver 3. That touchdown wait continues, but I think it does come if they're going to force to throw the ball more in this one. Hunter Henry, he's in that tight end 1 conversation for me in this matchup as well. On the Panthers side, CMC, he has a chance to play. He's limited in practice on Thursday. Probably won't know for sure, but if he's playing, of course, you're firing him up. If not, Chuba Hubbard, mid-tier RB2. Loved his volume last week. He got 25 touches, 5 carries in the red zone. You like that. Matt Rule said he's going to run the ball more. He came through. So DJ Moore definitely has cooled off tremendously since week 4. It has to do with Darnold as well, his play. I think he's more like a upside wide receiver 2 for me. I think his upside, of course, is his target share. So, yeah, I think he's that wide receiver 2 range. But that's really who I'm playing, Chuba and DJ Moore in the team.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. Moving on this next matchup, the 5-2 Buffalo Bills traveling to Jacksonville to take on the 1-6 Jacksonville Jaguars. This game has a 48.5 point total. The Buffalo Bills on the road are 14.5 point favorites here. I referenced the wind in this game before, 15-mile-per-hour winds, sustained winds, but it also has stronger gusts that are anticipated throughout the game. So, be mindful of that. Again, monitor that as we get closer to game time, and excuse this plane that goes by over my apartment. But in terms of the injuries here, Buffalo, Jordan Poyer he was a DNP with a shoulder injury. Cole Beasley, he was a DNP with a rib injury, and Dawson Knox was questionable with a hand. And I believe Jacksonville has James Robinson, who has not practiced at all this week with that heel injury that the Jags are calling it. So definitely be mindful of that. Greg, what do you got in this game here?
I'm taking the under, taking the Bills to cover, taking the Bills to win. Seems like when the Bills play inferior teams, they know how to close and just destroy teams. So I think they cover. Bill just starting them all up. You said Josh Allen was going to be the QB1 last week. He probably is going to be the QB1 again this week. So yeah, you're playing him like all his players: Diggs, Sanders, Beasley. Beasley came up with a injury. So if he's not playing, I do even like Gabriel Davis in deeper leagues. They're all good, in store for good days. Dawson Knox is still day to day. So I expect Tommy Sweeney. He had a healthy snap share last week, so he's a desperation tight end if you need to add him on Sunday morning with Dawson Knox possibly not going again. On the Jag side, Lawrence has some value because they're going to throw it a lot. They've thrown it 42.7 times in the last 3 weeks, a second in the league. Garbage time. If they really just want to get him for garbage time, that's all I'm saying. James Robinson, though, didn't practice on Thursday. If he can't go, Carlos Hyde, it's in that low-end RB2 range, high RB3. Think he could get a top 30 play. And the only receiver I'm trusting is Marvin Jones. He's getting 8 targets a game. Agnew could be a DP play just with all the pass attempts he might get.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over here. I'm going to take Buffalo to cover.
The Bills cover themselves.
I'm going to take Buffalo to win. Yeah, well, let me start. Yeah, I totally agree with you on Josh Allen could be the QB1 this week. Uh, I like all the Bills,
Yeah.
like Diggs, Sanders. If Cole Beasley can go, I like him as well.
Yep.
Zach Moss. We even saw a Gabe Davis sighting, so I definitely am into that. On the Jacksonville side, if James Robinson can't go, uh, then Carlos Hyde's like a volume-based RB3 with RB2 upside. I don't even. I'm sorry. I just can't play Trevor Lawrence. I just cannot. He's got
Even if you're like in a 2 quarterback league, you can't.
three.
Like,
Yeah, in 2 quarterback
Yeah.
leagues, sure, but
yeah,
in a
I mean, he's not
quarterback
shooting.
league,
Nah, he's not. He's not in that conversation.
I
Definitely.
cannot
Yeah.
play Trevor Lawrence. He's got two quarterback one finishes,
Mhm.
a QB12 and a QB9 finish. He's never finished. He's only finished inside the top 20 3 times, and the third time was a 16 finish. And he's averaging 15.8 points per game. Like, he's the quarterback 24. He's like barely a QB2.
He got to be still rostered, which is crazy. I feel like.
Yeah, because his name is Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Maybe it's
And so because of that,
Yeah.
like all of the Jags wide receivers, they're just all uninspiring flex plays. Like I don't feel comfortable putting any of them in my flex. Like Jamal Agnew is probably most. I mean, Marvin Jones is interesting because look at the touchdowns. Jamal Agnew is like he had 12 targets last week, which he had 38 receiving yards. So it's like, what are you really getting with those 12 targets? So yeah, I don't know. I color me skeptical. I'm not sure, but I really don't want anything to do with especially not against the Bills.
No.
Like,
I mean, fourth
you
quarter
could,
garbage time points. That's all I'm looking at.
you could talk to me about this. It's like if it's like the Jets or the Lions or something, but like we're talking about Buffalo. Like I'm out. All right, moving on to this next game. The 3-4 Cleveland Browns traveling to Cincinnati to take on the 5-3 Cincinnati Bengals. 47 total. Free hotel. Cincinnati Bengals are 2.5-point favorites here. In terms of the weather, we're okay. Some light rain expected here. In terms of obviously Greg is saying free Odell. If you have not heard, Odell Beckham Jr. I think I referenced it yesterday. Has been told he's to stay home. Basically, he's been excused from the team. Head coach Kevin Stefanski has said that has told Browns players that Odell is not a part of the team right now. So obviously, I don't expect him to play this weekend. Jack Conklin, the offensive tackle for the Cleveland Browns, he is out this week with an arm injury. And then on Cincinnati, they're mostly okay there. In terms of the game, I'm going to take the under here. I'm going to take Cincinnati to cover. I'm going to take Cincinnati to win. Joe Burrow, QB1. Jamar Chase, a wide receiver 1. I think T. Higgins, I want to say he's a wide receiver 2. I mean, Jamar Chase has like he gets all of he's a lock wide receiver 1 just because of his deep threat ability and the end zone prowess that he has. Like, I mean, Joe Burrow targets him relentlessly, especially on those like second reaction plays. The chemistry that they have, just you see it constantly. But T. Higgins, you just add a touchdown to his stat line, and he's a wide receiver 1 every week. And you could say that with like a lot of receivers, but T. Higgins is a receiver that can score touchdowns, right? He had double-digit touchdowns last year. So I think he's in wide receiver 1 conversation. Somebody who I think continues to be a buy candidate for me this week, or just in general on the season. Joe Mixon, he's an RB1 option. CJ Uzoma is streamable as well as a tight end position. And then for Cleveland, it's just going to be Nick Chubb and Jarvis Landry. That's really it for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take the Bengals cover as well, and the Bengals to win. On the Brown side, yeah, I'm with you, Nick Chubb. I'm just disappointed. It's just so disappointing that the Browns team, like everything that's gone from the receivers to Nick Chubb. They made my man a standard running back, like in fantasy. Like it's crazy.
Like they don't want to throw him the ball, bro.
He's got 6 receptions on the year. That's crazy. Like I can't even put. He's not an RB1 in PPR leagues. He's like he's RB2. It's crazy. Like if he doesn't get a touchdown, getting a top 25 week is hard. I mean, Jarvis is a wide receiver 4. He's barely a top 30 play. I mean, maybe with Odell out, he might get some more targets, but their targets don't mean anything from this Browns offense. And then on the Bengals side, I agree with you, Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow, QB1, Joe Mixon, great week. Love his volume. He's back to being healthy, so that's good for him. Jamar Chase, lock, wide receiver 1. Higgins and Boyd are both top 30 plays. That Higgins has definitely higher upside, so I think I have him as a high end wide receiver 2. And yeah, CJ Uzama, that if you need a tight end, he's definitely in that streaming conversation.
Moving on to this next matchup, the 3-4 Atlanta Falcons traveling to New Orleans to take on the 5-2 New Orleans Saints. 42.5 point total here. Saints are 6-point favorites at home. In terms of the matchup, or in terms of the injuries here, Calvin Ridley, he's out with, mental. He's taken some personal time, has some personal issues. Just wants to focus on his mental health. So he's out for the foreseeable future. How long that is, we don't really know. Taysom Hill for New Orleans, he was a full participant in practice with a concussion injury that he's been dealing with. So looks like he's on track to play this weekend. Ty Montgomery, there's a DNP with a hamstring injury. Michael Thomas, this one was also news that hit earlier, yesterday earlier this week during the news dump. But Michael Thomas is out for the rest of the season after having another procedure done on his ankle, so he will miss the remainder of the season. So we'll see him next year, probably in a different uniform.
Ooh.
But Greg, what do you got in this matchup here?
I'm gonna take the over. I'm gonna take Atlanta to cover, but I'm gonna take the Saints to win. On Atlanta, I'm fading Matt Ryan if I can. I think he's still better than like a Trevor Lawrence option, but he's only in 2 QB leagues for me. Cordell Patterson, I do love him. He's a low-end RB1, wide receiver 1, whatever you want to call it. Keep firing him up as such. No Calvin Ridley, as you discussed, so you already know Kyle Pitts, a tight end disguised as a wide receiver or whatever, vice versa. I don't know how it is, but yeah, he's top 2, 3 tight end option. He's going to be killing all year for the rest of the season. Definitely go get that man if you can. It's probably too late now. On the Saints side, Taysom Hill, you already know if he's playing as a starter, he's a low-end QB1 in this matchup. You got to trust the process in this one. In the 4 games he started last year, he averaged 21 fantasy points per game. That put him right as a QB10 right now. I mean, the man's going to eat. Alvin Kamara, though, of course, we're very intrigued about that situation. His production in those 4 weeks, he was getting like about 12.9 fantasy points per game, FanDuel scoring. Those are RB2 numbers, basically. So I still think Kamara has RB1 upside, but I'm intrigued to see his production. I won't be surprised if he gets downgraded. And Deontay Harris has some top 30 value to me, possibly. He's speculative at right now. I think he's a wait and see mode, but that's the only receiver I think can benefit from this.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over here. Gonna take New Orleans to cover. Gonna take New Orleans to win. Kyle Pitts remains top tight end option despite the tough matchup this week. I mean, like you said, no Calvin Ridley, a wide receiver disguised as a tight end. This dude is gonna ball. So I just continue to expect him to get that production. Cordell Patterson. He's definitely, like you said, low end RB1, high end wide receiver 2, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
He gets it done every week. I think the Calvin Ridley's absence helps Patterson as well, because we saw him in that first game that they didn't have Calvin Ridley. especially used as schemed up as a receiver as well, and getting some targets on the outside, not just out of the backfield. So I think it benefits him as well. And then maybe you could take the shot on Russell Gage. Not really all that interested there. But like, we got to forgive a guy.
It's easy to forgive like a Mike Evans that did that, or like a stud that did that. This is Russell Gage. He hasn't proved it like anything.
I mean, but the week before he caught a touchdown, was like 14 PPR points. With Calvin Ridley, so he puts up a 0. It's like 14-0. Like, one of those is an outlier. So we're gonna find out.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I'm not gonna play him this week though. The matchup isn't all that great. So, and I agree. I'm not touching Matt Ryan this week either. On the Saints side, totally agree with you. Taysom Hill, he's my stream of the week. I think he's got to be on your roster if you're in need of a quarterback, or if you're hurting a quarterback, or Tom Brady's on bye or something like that. Pick up Taysom Hill, start him. You know what you're gonna get. Like Greg said, he averaged 21.8 points last year. I think he could still be good for. I think the floor is going to be at least like 17 with Taysom. Yeah. Right, it has to be. And then Alvin Kamara, I think he's an RB1. I mean, we know his production went down with Taysom Hill last year, but if you look at the end of last year when Taysom Hill was holding that job, he started to target Alvin Kamara. He started to understand, this offense, and there's no Michael Thomas either, right? It's not like last year there was no Michael Thomas, and he still wasn't targeting Kamara. There was no Michael Thomas, or there was a Michael Thomas at that time. So I think we can get some targets here for Kamara. This offense goes through him, and it revolves around him. But Deontay Harris, I think in with Jameis Winston, I would much rather have him. But now that Taysom Hill's the quarterback, maybe it's what, I'm not gonna I'm not, and you know what, I take it back. I retract that statement. I forget it. Forget what I said. Taysom Hill's fine. Yeah. Let's move on to this next game, the last 1 p.m. game here that we're going to cover. The 5-2 Las Vegas Raiders traveling to MetLife to take on the 2-6 New York Giants. This game has a 46-point total, where the Raiders are 3-point favorites. In terms of injuries, Kadarius Toney, he's questionable, limited participant in practice with a thumb injury. The Giants had a bit of a COVID situation here, where a couple of players ended up on the COVID list. Xavier McKinney, safety for the Giants, he's out of this game with COVID after testing positive. Saquon Barkley, running back who's also dealing with an ankle injury, is out of this game after testing positive for COVID. On the Raiders side, they're coming off a bye. They're okay, so nothing to report there from an injury perspective. In terms of the game here, I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take the Raiders to cover. I'm going to take the Raiders to win. Derek Carr continues his solid play, I think. Josh Jacobs is in a great spot to finish as an RB1 again this week. Has a Giants a matchup against the Giants that's been favorable against running backs. Hunter Renfrow, he's a wide receiver 2, basically every week, has upside for more, especially in PPR leagues. Darren Waller, it's good to have you back, brother.
Yes, sir.
Zay Jones, a low end, I think, wide receiver 3 that probably ends up picking this deep threat role after, the tragedy involving Henry Ruggs there. So I think he's worth an ad. Zay Jones has he averages over 24 yards per reception there. He was already seeing some of those targets there. I think if Derek Carr has been playing so well, and this is an offense that is going down the field, I think Zay Jones is definitely. I know Greg is somewhere inside. Greg is
Brian Edwards, yo.
Oh man, okay. On the Giants side, Devontae Booker, low-end RB1 again. Daniel Jones, high-end QB2. Kadarius Toney, a wide receiver 2 option. and Evan Ingram, another tight end one streaming candidate this week for me. But Greg, go ahead, convince me about Brian Edwards.
Yeah, I mean, I have the over. I'm taking the Raiders to cover. I'm taking the Raiders to win. I do like Derek Carr in this matchup. He's high in QB2, got some QB1 upside. Josh Jacobs also got some RB1 upside. I have him right at that high in RB2 range. Yeah, without Ruggs, I don't mind adding Brian Edwards as a speculative ad. I think he's probably going to be the one based off targets who's going to be next in line. But yeah, I do like the Zay Jones pick as well. I'm in wait and see mode. I think I would add, if you have space to add one of them, go ahead and do that. Just love that Darren Waller's back and Hunter Renfrow. They're going to be the guys that lead in targets on the team majority of the time. So you want those guys for sure. You're starting them up with confidence. On the Giants side, Daniel Jones, borderline QB1 performance. I think he gets here. He's the QB 13 so far. So he's been given great value. Saquon has an outside chance of playing. But if he's not, be prepared to fire Booker. He's been money as a strong RB2 in relief of Saquon. He's been RB15, RB24, RB17, and RB14 in PPR leagues over the last 4 weeks. Seems like the Giants' back of running backs seem to come through when you need them, man, not the actual starting running backs. But it's no Sterling Shepard. Galladay's still banged up. Expect Tony to step it up, of course, as long as he finishes the game healthy. I like him.
That's a big if,
I know.
man.
Yeah, that's the thing. That man goes hard, man. Even in the tough matchup with Casey Hayward, he's going to lead the team in targets as low and wide receiver 2. Evan Ingram, tight end 1 conversation. I'm with you on that. Had a season high snap share, got his first touchdown. So, yeah, I like that. And the Raiders giving up over 6 receptions to touch a game to tight end. So it's a good matchup for him.
Definitely. All right, y'all. Well, that pretty much wraps it up in terms of the 1 p.m. games. Make sure you catch us tomorrow, which this episode actually be out a little bit earlier, but you'll make sure you catch us tomorrow for us breaking down the remaining games, all the 4 p.m. games, the Sunday night game, the Monday night game, giving out our starts of the week, playing some get money. Yeah, but until next time, y'all, we are out of here. We appreciate y'all. Peace.
We out.